The math worked. But only if nothing else happened. And something else always happened. You're 24. Your checking account reads $840 on a Thursday evening. Rent goes out in 9 days. After rent, utilities, the phone bill, groceries, and gas, you put in $20 at a time. There's a margin of maybe $60 left. $60 determines whether the month survives or not. You know this number the way you know your own phone number, without looking, without calculating. The number just lives in the back of your head. Updates itself, a low hum, always there. The way a low hum was always there when you grew up in a house where money was always either just enough or not quite. It's 10:15 on a Wednesday night. You're at the laundromat 2 blocks from your apartment because the building's machines have been broken for 6 days. $3 in quarters. Waiting for the dryer. There's a man across the room, probably 60, folding clothes. He's not checking his phone, he's not watching the clock. He folds one shirt, then another. His hands move at a pace that has nothing to do with hurrying anywhere, like the hour doesn't apply to him. You watch him without meaning to. Something about the stillness bothers you in a way you can't name. You go home, check the account, $840. Set your phone face down and try to stop calculating. You can't stop calculating, this is where it starts. Not with a mentor, not with a book, with a man folding shirts at 10:15, and the quiet discomfort of not understanding what made him look so different from everyone else in that room, including you. You make $58,000 a year. After taxes, after health insurance, after the retirement contribution, your coworker Meredith told you you'd regret skipping. You take home $3,040 a month. Rent is $980. That leaves $2,060. Groceries, gas, utilities, phone, streaming services you share with someone you barely talk to anymore, but canceling feels like friction you don't have energy for. By the time everything that has to happen has happened, you have roughly $380 left. Some months less. In February of your second year, you have $120 at the end of the month. You don't go to the birthday dinner. You say you're not feeling well. You're not feeling well. That part is true. But the sickness isn't what you tell them. Here's what nobody tells you about growing up without money. It's not the shortage that does the lasting damage. It's the arithmetic. The constant, involuntary, never-ending arithmetic. Your account balance isn't a number you check. It's a number you carry. It updates in the background, without permission, like a temperature. Always running. When it goes up, something in you unknots slightly. When it goes down, the knot returns before you've finished reading the notification. This isn't anxiety. This is information. This is what your childhood built because it had to. It runs automatically. It's very good at its job, and it will be very hard to turn off, even after you don't need it anymore. 7 months into your second year, your car needs a wheel bearing. $640. You have $800 in savings. You pay it. The account reads $160 for 11 days. 11 days. You eat what's already in the cabinets. You decline 2 things you would have said yes to at a different balance. You walk past the coffee place and keep going like you weren't heading there anyway. Nobody sees the 11 days. Nobody counts your quarters. When payday comes and the account rebuilds, you sit with something for a long time. Not relief, not anger, a very specific awareness. You are one unexpected thing away from zero, all the time, every month, regardless of the salary, regardless of doing everything right. That awareness is the beginning of everything that changes. What happens next isn't dramatic. It doesn't look like a decision from the outside, but 10 years later, it's the only decision that explains everything after it. You don't find a book. You don't hear it from someone wiser. You sit with that awareness for 2 months, and something very quiet shifts. You decide that $600 of whatever is in your savings account is permanent, not an emergency fund, not accessible capital, a line you don't cross. Money you won't touch, regardless of what appears on the other side of it. The distinction sounds like splitting hairs. It isn't. An emergency fund is money you save to spend when emergencies arise. This is money you save to never spend. The line answers one specific question. What is the floor that never moves, no matter what the month does? You open an account at a different bank. Transfer $600. Don't link it to your debit card. Don't set automatic transfers. Just put the money in and close the app. Month 1 is uncomfortable. The broke mindset is very loud. It says, what if you need it? It says you're one car repair away from touching it anyway. It says this is a performance of discipline, not real discipline. It speaks in the voice of everyone who taught you that money is for spending. And in the world they lived in, it was. You save, something breaks. You save again, something else breaks. The math never let the savings survive long enough to mean anything. So you stop saving. You call that realism. Not defeat, not exactly, just the rule the house taught. The broken mindset remembers all of that. Clearly. With evidence. But here's what nobody says about the broke mindset out loud. It kept you alive. All those years of knowing your balance without looking, that wasn't a flaw, that was a skill. The problem isn't having it. The problem is when it starts making decisions that belong to a different season of your life. When the season has changed, but the instinct hasn't. When you're still running drought protocols during rain. Month 2. You add $47 to what is left over from the month. That same week, you buy the $8 bag of coffee at the grocery store instead of the $4 one. You just put it in the cart without doing the math first. Standing in the aisle afterward, you notice that you did that. It felt strange, not wrong, just unfamiliar, like trying on someone else's jacket. It fits, but it isn't yours yet. Month 3. The account is a fact now, not a temptation. There was one month, month 14. A concert ticket, $240. A band you'd been waiting 3 years for. Reunion tour, one night only, 45 minutes from your apartment. You opened the untouched account. You looked at the balance. You sat there for maybe 6 minutes. 6 minutes is a long time when the balance is right there on the screen. You closed the app. You didn't go. You don't know if that was the right call. You still don't. But the line held. And the line holding was the point. You are 26. The account has $4,800. 21 months, not once. The number is not impressive. The unbroken record behind it is everything. A raise arrives, $67,310 extra per month after taxes. Your coworker Theo comes in on Monday describing the car he bought over the weekend. $41,000. 60-month loan. He describes the monthly payment with an exhausted pride you recognize immediately. Not bragging, something more complicated than bragging. Using a number as evidence of something that the number alone can never prove. Performing. You recognize it because you've been running your own version for years. The apartment in the right neighborhood. The dinner choices. The way you describe your work to people you'll never see again. The car you apologize for when clients get in. You've been spending money and attention building the appearance of a life, not the accumulation of one. You couldn't see it before. You can't see water when you're swimming in it. You stop. Not with an announcement. The lease is the lease. You keep the apartment until it ends. Then move somewhere smaller and quieter that costs less and tells people nothing about where you're going. The Honda stays. Specifically, the 9-year-old Honda with a cracked dashboard on the passenger side. A crack shaped exactly like a river delta branching outward in 3 directions. And a CV joint that clicks every time you turn left. You've looked it up. You know what it needs. You still haven't fixed it. You pull into the parking lot before your first real client meeting. 2 cars near the entrance cost more than you make in a year. Out of pure habit, before you've made a decision, you head for a spot at the far end. Then you catch yourself doing it. You sit there for a second. You back out. You park in the normal spot. Small thing. You don't think about it again, not for a long time. Around month 4 of stopping the performance, something happens in a meeting you weren't expecting. You're sitting across from a man who runs a property management company, evaluating you for project work. His office has every object in it, signaling arrival. He spends the first 10 minutes reading to you. Not listening, reading, looking for signals you've stopped sending. He doesn't find them. You answer his questions directly. Nothing extra, nothing performed. Near the end, he says something you didn't see coming. You're the first person who's come in here this month who didn't seem like they needed this to go well. You do need it to go well, but you've stopped performing the need. There's a gap between those two things. He can feel it. You're only beginning to understand it. The 310 goes to the account. Every month. The account has $9,600. You've never touched it. The consulting starts quietly. A former colleague needs something specific. You know how to do it. You do it. You charge less than you should because the broke mindset still runs the pricing conversation in your head. Don't push it. They might say no. The work is good. You deliver exactly what you said you would. On time, completely. Nothing outstanding. 3 weeks later, a text from a number you don't recognize. Just a name, Raymond, and a question about availability. You reply and learn he got your name from the first client, who mentioned it to someone, who mentioned a chain of 3 people. You've never met Raymond. Raymond has never met you. Raymond is ready to hire a stranger, based entirely on second-hand accounts of work done quietly, on someone else's timeline. A name can travel without you, into rooms you were never in, through conversations you didn't know were happening. And here's the part that stops you. Your name existed before the first dollar, before the first job, before the account had anything in it. It was there in every small decision that either added to it or took from it. Building quietly, the whole time. It is the only asset you've ever had that predates every number in your account. You just never treated it like one. You send the invoice on a Friday. Week 2, you check the email 3 times in one afternoon. You don't follow up. You don't want to look like you need the money. You do need the money. Week 6, the payment arrives, no message. Just the transfer notification at 7:18 on a Tuesday morning. You check twice to make sure it cleared. Then you move most of it to the account you don't touch. You protect your name the same way you protect the $600. Not because you can see the return, because you've seen what happens when people don't. 6 months later, an opportunity arrives. Larger, better pay, attached to a name with weight in your industry. But you've done enough homework to know how this person operates. Corners cut quietly, promises made in rooms and revised in contracts. You say no. Day 2, you draft a message walking it back. You write the whole thing, read it twice, don't send it. Day 3, you run the numbers again, as the numbers have changed since Tuesday. They haven't. Day 4, you go for a run you haven't taken since November. No music. Just the road and the sound of your own breathing and a decision that is already made but doesn't feel like it yet. On the 5th day, you stop thinking about it. The clarity that follows is longer than any deal you almost took. The account has $31,000. Consulting generates $1,800 a month. You don't upgrade anything. This is the part hardest to explain to someone who hasn't lived it. From the outside, nothing looks different. Same car, same apartment, same Thursday evenings. But something has shifted in the direction everything is moving, and direction is the only thing that matters at this stage. Not speed, not size. Direction. 31. Salary $73,000. Consulting adds $22,000 annually. $95,000 total. More than your parents made combined at the peak of their working lives. Nobody at your parents' kitchen table would know what to do with that sentence. Here's what happens at 31 that nobody prepares you for. Everyone around you makes decisions on a very short timeline. Not because they're reckless, because the pressure to match that timeline is constant, invisible, and dressed as common sense. Your friend Cassandra is buying a house she can't sustain, not from irrationality, from the accumulated weight of renting feeling like losing, of watching people around her buy, of her parents asking every family dinner why she's still paying someone else's mortgage, of the fear that the longer she waits, the further behind she falls on a line everyone else can see, and she cannot. She calls you. You say true things, she hears them and buys anyway. You don't say anything after that. You've used your turn. A few months later, she posts a photo of the kitchen she just renovated. New cabinets. 312 likes. You press the like button, you put the phone down and go do something else. There's nothing wrong with the photo. There's nothing wrong with the kitchen. You just can't see it the way everyone else in the comments sees it. You see the second mortgage, you see the next 5 years, you see the gap between what looks like a rival and what it actually costs. You don't say any of this. You press the like button. You moved on. Your cousin reaches out again. Not from carelessness, from a structure that was never designed to let him build anything. The same structure that produced your childhood's financial anxiety in a different city. You help because he's family. Because you remember what it felt like to have the math not work and have nowhere to call. But the help doesn't address the structure. The structure will generate the same moment again in 8 months. You both know this without saying it. You're standing at your kitchen counter the following Sunday, making coffee. Your phone buzzes. Another message. You put it face down. You finish making the coffee. You stand there drinking it, looking at nothing in particular. Here's the thing about being able to see 10 years ahead. It's not a gift, not entirely, because the people you love are living in the same present as always. You can see where they're going, clearly. The way you can see the end of a road from far enough back, but you can't say it in a way they'll hear. And you have to watch anyway. That's a specific kind of grief. It doesn't have a name. It just lives in the space between what you see and what you're allowed to say. You make decisions on a 10-year horizon in a world running at 15 days. Not because you're more disciplined, because you've lived long enough inside financial fear to understand that the 10-year version of a decision and the 10-day version are almost never the same decision. You learn this not from a course, from watching 3 generations make only 10-day decisions in a row. The distance it creates in relationships is quiet. Nobody announces it. It just opens. The way ice separates. You don't observe the moment it starts. Only the width when you finally look. You eat lunch alone some days, not from isolation, from preference. The hour belongs entirely to thoughts that don't need to be abbreviated for a table of people navigating different financial realities. You protect it the same way you protect everything else worth protecting. The account has $57,000. Never touched. 34. A Tuesday in October. Nothing ceremonial about it. The account reads 94,000 and change. 9 years ago, 600. But what changes at 34 isn't the number, it's the texture of how money works. The rental property, a 2-bedroom 3 hours away, researched for 14 months before closing, generates $420 a month beyond mortgage, maintenance, and insurance. $420 that arrive without your labor, without your presence, without any active decision beyond the original one. $420 is not wealth. It is not freedom. It is the machine making its first audible sound. The first time money produces something that is not you. You sit with that for a morning, not in celebration, in the specific quiet of understanding something for the first time that you only understood theoretically before. Your consulting income now exceeds your salary. The option to leave exists in a form that isn't theoretical. There are 2 doors, and one of them is genuinely open. You haven't walked through it yet, but you stand in the knowledge that it's there. That knowledge has a texture, a weight shifting. Nothing like any salary increase you've ever received. You still drive the Honda. The CV joint still clicks when you turn left. Somewhere around year 7, you stop noticing it. You only notice it now when someone else gets in the car and their face does a thing. You don't say anything. Neither do they. You think sometimes about that Wednesday night with the quarters, what you were actually watching. It wasn't calm. It wasn't wealth. It was someone committed to a timeline nobody else in the room had agreed to. And the mismatch between his pace and everything around him looked, from the outside, like stillness. It wasn't stillness. It was commitment. You couldn't see that at 24. You were too busy counting to notice what counting was costing you. 37. Net worth $280,000. Not life-changing in the abstract, life-changing in the specific. The math now holds under 3 scenarios, not 1. 4-day work weeks for 14 months, and nobody on the outside has noticed because you stopped using availability as proof of value 3 years ago. The 5th day. No meetings, no deliverables, no one to report to. Now produces work that may not pay anything for 2 more years. And might pay everything after. You visit your parents. Same house, same linoleum since you were 9. Same refrigerator hum you heard through every childhood night. The sound that became the sound of home in a way you didn't choose and can't undo. Same low hum of financial anxiety running beneath everything. Like a current, nobody turns off because nobody remembers how. Your mother asks if you're saving. You say yes. She says, good, good, make sure you're saving. You drink the coffee. You look at the table. There is no vocabulary in this kitchen for what you've built. Not from ignorance. From architecture. This house was built for survival, month to month, season to season. Enough margin to keep the lights on and the kids fed. It's good architecture for what it was designed to do. It was never designed to hold conversations about rental yield or the option to leave a salary or a line of capital you haven't touched in 13 years. You are the first person in your family's history with this specific problem. The problem of having built something that doesn't translate. Of sitting at the table that made you and having no way to share what you've become. Not because they wouldn't care. Because the language doesn't exist yet. Someone always has to be first. You didn't choose it. You just kept making the next decision and the next one. Until you were somewhere, the map didn't show. You say the coffee is good. It is. On the drive home, you think about what you traded. Not money. Not comfort. Something harder to hold. A version of yourself that existed inside the specific clarity of not having enough. The version that knew the exact price of everything, felt every dollar as something present and alive. That version was exhausting. But it was also a kind of contact with the world. A texture of attention that comes from things mattering because they have to. You don't get that back. You don't get to unknow what you know. The broke mindset is still there. It runs quieter now. But it still activates when the balance drops unexpectedly. Still knows the number before you look. 2 operating systems. Neither is fully in charge. Both are still running. You're not the man from the laundromat. You don't know if you'll ever be, but you understand his stillness now. He wasn't calm. He was committed. He'd decided on a horizon and stopped asking the room's permission to hold it. And the mismatch between his pace and everything around him looked, from the outside, like peace. It wasn't peace. It was patience. Built on a structure that didn't need the room to keep running. Somewhere tonight, someone is at a laundromat after the hour when it's acceptable to be there. The machine in their building has been broken for days. They have a handful of quarters. They have a number in their head that updates itself without permission. They look across the room at someone whose hands are moving at the wrong speed for the hour. Someone who is not counting anything visible. They watch without meaning to. Something about it bothers them in a way they don't have words for yet. They'll go home, check the balance. The number will be the number. Put the phone face down. Maybe sometime in the next few months, they'll make one small decision and protect it. Not because they understand what it builds. Because something about it feels different from every other decision. More permanent. Like a floor that doesn't move. The questions without words are where everything starts. They always were.